Democratic women lawmakers on Capitol Hill have written a letter to the Pentagon's Inspector General, joined by a number of their colleagues in the Senate, demanding accountability for what they say is the Army's failure in stopping widespread sexual misconduct. More than 80 women are now accusing Army OBGYN Major Blaine McGraw of sexual misconduct, according to two lawyers who are representing accusers. A civil lawsuit against the doctor accuses him of repeatedly groping a female patient and secretly recording intimate videos of her during a recent pelvic and breast exam. Sources say they expect more accusers to come forward, especially after the Army sent letters to more than 2,500 patients McGraw came into contact with during his time not only at Fort Hood in Texas, but also at Tripler Army Medical Center in Hawaii. The scale of the alleged abuse is roiling the Army as it could become one of, if not the largest cases of alleged sexual misconduct in U.S. military history. Military officials at Fort Hood suspended McGraw last month. Fort Hood says the criminal investigation is ongoing, and McGraw is now in a Texas jail in pretrial detainment, though he has not been arrested and charged. Joining us now is CNN national security reporter Haley Britsky. Haley, could that change, or are we expecting that the Army could charge Dr. McGraw?
So there are expected charges coming down the pike. What that looks like, how many there are, what those charges are specifically, we still don't know yet. But he is in pretrial confinement until that happens. A defense official said earlier that part of that pretrial confinement is due to 7 alleged infractions on sort of the terms of agreement he had with his chain of command, so his military leadership, on sort of where he could go, where he couldn't go. So there were 7 issues there that kind of resulted in this extended pretrial confinement. And we heard from the same defense official that the military was using location data on his phone to kind of determine where he had been and when to answer some of those questions.
That's really interesting. And of note, McGraw's lawyer told CNN that he, quote, did not violate the restriction. He was on the base the whole time for each allegation. Dr. McGraw is not a threat to anyone. The pretrial confinement is forcing the government to rush the investigation as his speedy trial rights are now implicated. The lawyer going on to say it's a bad decision, plain and simple. Lawyers of victims say they're relieved that he is in jail, that he doesn't have this ability to kind of come and go. We're talking about dozens of women who have pretty stunning allegations here.
That's right. I mean, like you said earlier, this is dozens of women, not only in Texas at Fort Hood, but also in Hawaii from when he was at Tripler Army Medical Center. So the Army has reached out to thousands of women at this point for potentially having been caught up in this. And what women are saying was he would put his phone in his shirt pocket and allegedly record them, just like we have a photo showing in this photo that his phone is kind of in his shirt pocket with his camera facing out, photo obtained by CNN. So a lot of women are saying that they had this experience, some women saying that he groped them, that he did unnecessary medical exams. Of course, his lawyer has said that they haven't seen any records to support that patients were touched in a way not medically indicated, but more and more women are coming forward and saying that they had these experiences with him when he was their medical provider. It's a really serious issue, and the Army is saying they're taking it very seriously.
All right, we'll be looking to see. This is certainly just the beginning of things. Haley, thank you so much for the very latest there. And we're joined now by Democratic Congresswoman Jill Takuda of Hawaii. Congresswoman, I should note Tripler Army Medical Center, which is this prior duty station of this doctor where he's also accused of misconduct, is in your state, very close to your district. Have you had conversations with leadership at Tripler about this? What have they told you?
You know, we have not had direct conversations with Tripler leadership. I can assure you that's in the works. But in what is honestly a rare move, our entire congressional delegation did send a letter to the Army, to Secretary Hegseth, saying that there must be an immediate, urgent, and thorough investigation by the Inspector General into this case. It's absolutely unacceptable. This should never happen anywhere in our country.
Yeah, we saw that from the senators and the members of Congress of Hawaii all sending that letter to Pentagon officials. You're also part of this letter from the Democratic Women's Caucus that is going today, as we understand it. CNN has seen this exclusively, and you have demands of leadership, or certainly of the Inspector General at the Pentagon. You really want them, you, meaning dozens of lawmakers, to take a look at a number of things. What are you looking for from the Army, from the Pentagon, in terms of accountability here?
Well, first of all, let's remember and step back and think about the victims here at some of their most vulnerable, sensitive times in their lives. Literally, you go as a woman to an OBGYN to get life-saving, life-giving care. And to have this kind of thing happen to you without even your knowledge in some cases, this is an absolute breach and break of trust. And so the Democratic Women's Caucus is demanding strong, firm accountability, answers to questions. There had to have been some kind of warning signs, some alarm bells going off. Why did nothing happen prior to the incidents where, people were complaining at Fort Hood? Did anyone see something? Are there adequate reporting systems for both healthcare professionals, nurses, colleagues, as well as patients to be able to say, this man ain't right? You should never have a phone with a lens camera visible while you're doing such an intimate procedure or any kind of screening. And again, as we've heard sadly through some of the news reports, unnecessary screenings and examinations that this man took. And now we know had photographic and video documentation, thousands of images of women who didn't even realize what was going on, trusted their doctor, and that trust was broken. And so we're demanding answers and accountability. And quite frankly, this must never happen again. So what are they immediately putting into place in terms of protections for all of our women, for all of our service members and their families who go to military hospitals and clinics to receive care?
I've talked to accusers of Dr. McGraw's. Some of them, a number of them, are Republican voters. They're now all over because we're talking about Tripler in your state of Hawaii. We're talking about Fort Hood in Texas. But military families move frequently, and you now have accusers who are in so many states all over the country, potentially all over the world even. I guess my question is knowing that, right, this is a broad swath of individuals who have these complaints, who are lobbying these accusations. This letter's from Democrats. Are you talking to your Republican colleagues? What are they telling you? What kind of answers do they want?
We will be talking to our Republican colleagues. This absolutely has to be a bipartisan push to make sure that everyone is held accountable, because to your point, sexual assault, abuse, what happened as a result of, McGraw, that didn't discriminate based upon your political identification. In fact, it was even worse than that. We're talking about our service members who protect and serve every single one of us. We're talking about their families that sacrifice so much so their loved ones can go out onto the battlefield. And during those times, they were actually attacked, if you think about it. It was a perpetrator literally hidden in a medical suit there. And so we need to stand together, Democrats, Republicans, independents, human beings, women, to say enough is enough. We demand answers, we demand accountability, and we have to remember, to your point, thousands of potential victims scattered throughout the country and the world. We have to make sure that they get the support, the trauma-informed care, the help that they need when they need it. Literally, people are going to start finding out. Not knowing, but finding out as these pictures and videos go out, as more information gets sent out, these letters are being received from people stationed, potentially not even in country. We have to meet them where they're at and make sure they get the care, support that they need as a result of this trauma that sadly was because we failed. The Army failed, Tripler failed, Fort Hood failed to be able to protect them in some of their most vulnerable times.
And now that this is out there, right, we know there were previous complaints that didn't go anywhere. But now that we are where we are with this investigation, do you think the Army is taking this case seriously enough?
I'm not going to trust that they're taking it seriously enough. That's why you see the kinds of letters, you see the kinds of actions. We need to keep beating the drum. We need to keep holding the Army accountable as well, that this is such a serious offense, and more importantly, this is just the one we found out about. We have to make sure that there are systems of accountability, of reporting, alarm systems, as I said earlier, in place to make sure this never happens again. Sadly, this is not the first time this year that we're talking about medical doctors, as now sexual predators. basically, assaulting, attacking, making victims of their patients. The patients they're supposed to be protecting and caring for. We have to absolutely not just send a letter and tell the Army to do its job. We have to make sure and hold the Army accountable to do its job. So we're not letting go on this one. The victims demand no less. They deserve no less. And so you can be assured that the Democratic Women's Caucus, the Hawaii Congressional Delegation, we're going to make sure we get those answers, but more importantly, we get accountability and we get justice for the victims.
Congresswoman Jill Takuda, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.